I'm just saying, okay? We are doing tier 2 right the frig now. Tier 2, boys. Hope you're ready.
What is up, boys? We are now on to tier 2. There's a few things I need to go ahead and say at the beginning of the video, both so that they make sense, and some disclaimers I need to get out of the way now. After doing research into this tier, some topics, especially ones I'll cover near the end of this tier, I get why people are being banned from YouTube for talking about it.
Oh no, please, I have to be very careful here, guys. I don't want to get banned, but, you know, we gotta do it. You understand. You understand. Sacrifices must be made.
There are some things that are very controversial that I will have to kind of speak in code a little bit, but all of the terms I say you can simply search and find out for yourselves. Just know I've got to be careful with some of it because it will get you instant zapped. Also, something I figured out while researching this, several of these conspiracy theories work in tiers off of each other and themselves. Like what I mean in tier 1, I mentioned giants. Well, there's one in this tier that is a more specific description of giants, and then after that, there are certain accounts in history that can be explained with giants. So they sort of work in stairs with each other, if that makes sense. Also, some of these theories are specifically set up theories.
Y'all keep asking me to turn the audio up. This dude does not have a good mic. He gets one later, okay? But it's the max. It's legit maxed out.
What I mean by that is that it'll be a concept or belief that will be mentioned that may not make sense on its own, but it will apply later, or at least it's something to keep in mind for later. Like, for example, a lot of the ones dealt with in this year have to do with ores and spiritualism. The reason being, a lot of the other theories don't make sense across the whole iceberg unless you're familiar with those concepts. And last thing, a few of these I'm going to introduce my own theories into. What I mean by that is, while researching, I've seen parallels or connections drawn between two separate things. Okay. So I will kind of skip around within a tier, like I'll do in this video, to connect one topic to another directly. And that is entirely my own guess on it, essentially. Without further ado, there are a lot of these, so let's get started. But thank you for watching. Tier 2's title is Deep Researcher, and it's described as theories and Twilight Zone level stuff. Most of these entries can easily be studied through the use of mainstream medias, but they require a good grasp of how the world works to be fully understood.
There he is, Admiral Byrd, the guy that I mentioned when we were watching episode 1, baby. Admiral Byrd. That's the guy that banned people from going to Antarctica. Very suspicious. Very suspicious.
Understood. Common people rarely go this deep. First up, we have lucid dreaming. Lucid dreaming is a well-known concept that during sleep, some people can control their dreams and what happens in them. I, for one, am one of these people. However, the theory comes in where people who can lucid dream can either affect things that happen in the real world or affect their thought process by manipulating.
I have heard this also.
Next up is...
So, funny story. I love mental stuff like that. I love the whole, the meditation thing, because lucid dreaming is done through meditation. I have tried just to see. I have not seen any success. But I will keep you updated, gamers. No, lucid dreaming and wet dreaming are different things, chat. Don't get your knickers in a twist.
MK Ultra is a rather well-known experiment that happened with the CIA in the 1970s, late 60s, in which people were brought...
MK Ultra sounds like a new Goku form, not gonna lie.
...in and influenced with psychotropics and other mind-altering drugs for the CIA to view the effects of and potentially use in PsyOps, which again was something mentioned in Tier 1. This is a rather well-known event. Most of the theories stem from the idea that either it's still going on or it was done at a great larger scale than the populace is aware of. Next up we have hypnosis. Again, this is one of those establishing theories, but as we all know, hypnosis is influencing the watcher to either recall things from the past or implant memories and yada yada things such as. Next up we have fluoride. Fluoride has to do with the fact that...
Okay, hypnosis. I'm sure hypnosis is real. I don't think it's like Mad Mod from Teen Titans, but there is like... to some extent. I mean, we've all seen the hypno hentai, right?
In the US, fluoride is inserted into the tap water in order to help with tooth enamel and digestion and yada yada things such as. The conspiracy comes from the fact that fluoride is a chemical and can therefore chemically castrate or influence other things in the body. So this will be more tied in later, but such as pineal gland calcification is believed to be a side effect of fluoride poisoning, or fluoride control, as people believe. Speaking of, pineal gland calcification is the idea that the pineal gland in the body calcifies after a certain point. This is actually true, however, the side effects of the theory are not. The way the pineal gland works is it has to do with growth and hormone supplements in the body, but after someone passes puberty, it's not really needed anymore, and the gland simply calcifies and dies out. The theory comes from the idea that things such as fluoride and other things taken in the body causes the gland to calcify and keeps us from reaching either our full brain or physical potential. This goes into weird theories about how it uncalcified and things such as, but it is true that as you get older, you don't need the pineal gland anymore, so it kind of just withers away. Next up, we have Cicada. This is in reference to Cicada 3301, which was a large-scale codebreaker event that happened in 2012.
Yeah, I heard
A random account appeared with the name Cicada 3301 and had these large puzzles for people to solve. There have been a total of 3, with a new one being added every time the last one was figured out. However,
just the Joker,
to this day,
the Riddler,
being posted in 2016, has still not been found out.
Whoa!
Besides this, the reason for this is that they are recruiting code breakers from some kind of secret project.
Interesting. I like that.
It's a very interesting rabbit hole to go down. I may make a video on it someday. There's several videos out there, and give the third puzzle a look. You may be the code breaker. That's one for whatever super sleuth activity they got planned. The McFly code is our first look at one of the more kooky ones. It is a belief that the Back to the Future movie predicted 9/11. The evidence of this is saying such as the shopping mall that takes place in the movie is Twin Pines Shopping Mall, or the fact that the first clock of the movie shows 9:55, which on a hand-dial would be 9:11, and things such as, and this all connects to the idea that people who did 9/11 make movies, and blah, 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 you get it.
Creepy. There are a lot of those that it looks like movies. Like, there's the whole thing that JoJo's predicted 9/11. There's no way that that's on the actual conspiracy theory iceberg. Oh, yeah, here it is. Oh, my God, this is so scary. So, this is an actual JoJo manga panel drawn in 1990, okay? So, this is the Oingo Boingo episode, I think. So, the Oingo Boingo episode, there are these two villains that one of them has a comic book that tells the future. In the comic book that tells the future, you have this scene. Now, this scene has a dude with the tower, and on his shirt it says 911 with a plane in the background. Right here, there he is. You see the little plane over there. There's two of these tower guys. It's trying. It's looking happy. I don't know. A little scary. And it's also funny that it's in the comic book that tells the future. It's reaching a bit. Yeah, but these are all reaching a bit.
Or Dow's, yeah, is an idea that using a fork of metal, people can pick up on sonic vibrations from the earth in order to find underground supplies of water, oil, and
dowsing.
It's more of a wives' tale than anything now, but there is some truth to it when it comes to how people used to found oil refineries.
I thought that was
back to the theory is it's one of those establishing ones again, that there are sonic vibrations within the earth. Next up we have Admiral Byrd, and this is one of the first really interesting ones.
Okay, baby, Admiral Byrd, let's go.
Admiral Byrd was sent to Antarctica shortly after World War II in something called Operation High Jump, which was essentially an idea to figure out whatever the Nazis were looking for in Antarctica during World War II, which relates to this place called Base 221, which was supposedly a Nazi outpost in Antarctica.
Bruh, Nazis out there searching for something in Antarctica? That's kind of spooky.
When he returned back,
that'd be some Castle Wolfenstein shit.
Put into isolation for 36 hours and was told not to speak of what he found to anyone under any circumstances, to which he was then given the Medal of Honor and told to leave.
Wait, what? Wait, what? No way. He went there, he searched, he was put in, like, isolation for 36 hours, not allowed to talk to anyone, given the Medal of Honor, and we never heard from him again? Okay, dude.
Connected to the idea of what the Nazis were looking for in the first place, which is something known as Agartha. Which brings us into our next topic, Agartha. Okay. In theory, Agartha is a civilization located beneath the Earth. This gets into a larger idea called Hollow Earth theory. That inside the Earth,
I never heard this!
Essentially a flipped gravitational pull, and there's an entire world operating beneath us. What's interesting throughout history is how different civilizations and leaders have been dedicated to finding this quote-unquote Agartha, such as Hitler during World War II, and other ancient tribes have tales of people that live beneath. How that's connected is since Agartha is what Germany was looking for in World War II, and since that's where Admiral Byrd went to go look and then was told to shut up and never talk about it, many believe Admiral Byrd found Agartha and then was told to simply never talk about it.
Oh my god. Yo, and also there are all those holes opening up in Antarctica randomly, right? Like they're known as these holes opening in the ground in Antarctica. I don't know. I mean, I don't believe that even for a split second, but goddamn, that's creepy. I like that.
We have weather control, or HARP. HARP stands for High Frequency Active Auroral Research Program, which is an actual military base located in Alaska. The purpose of this base is to monitor weather activity, although many have accused it as being a weather control base, such as Hugo Chavez saying that the earthquakes that occurred in South America were due to meddling at the HARP location in Alaska. This goes deeper. There's a lot of people who trace the weather around the area to look for signs on it, so you can check it out yourself. But basically, the idea in Alaska that the government has a weather control base. Freemasons is another one of those establishment ideas. It essentially goes off of the well-known idea that the Masons are shady, and they influence several politics and events that happen around the world. So this is another one of those asterisk ones. Keep the Masons in mind for things that come later. The 23 Enigma is
the Mason theories are cool, the Freemason theories.
An idea that the number 23 is suspicious throughout history in things such as dates,
I never heard
events,
that.
the number of casualties, and things such as. You can look in this one yourself. It's really long. There's even a movie about it starring Jim Carrey. But essentially the idea that number 23 is to be avoided.
How did I not hear that?
Projection. Astral projection relates a lot to lucid dreaming, although it's a little bit different. The idea of astral projection is that while sleeping or in a trance-like state, someone can remove their soul or their consciousness from their body and walk around and influence things. Experiments with this include hospitals who have put messages on the roof, and people who claim to astrally project have projected above the hospital, so to speak, been able to read what was on the roof, come back down, and tell the doctors what they saw.
Oh, come on, no way!
There's really more theories on, but essentially the idea is that there are these supernatural entities disguised as women that feed off of men's energy by appearing as a sexual being or feeding off of their life force or things such as.
That's just e-girls. Anyway.
Eastern philosophy is incredibly vague. I can only imagine this is also a setup as it applies to Hinduism and Taoism and just general ideas of spirituality, yin and yang, so on and so forth. Nephilim is what I was referring to earlier.
Yo, giants!
Nephilim is a more specific concept. Specifically in the Old Testament, it says that some of the angels that fell to earth whenever Satan was cast out had children with humans on earth.
Which is why Nafal in Hebrew is to fall, because they're the Nephilim, the ones that fell, the fallen ones. Pog.
And that created creatures known as Nephilim, or giants. In the Old Testament, several of the tribes that were wiped out, or ordered to be wiped out by God, were these Nephilim creatures. Famous characters such as Goliath from the Bible are specific instances of it. Where this goes further is the idea that they still exist in modern day, or small tribes and civilizations are on top of them. The missing cosmonauts relates to the Cold War space race time before Yuri Gagarin was successfully shot into space, that Russia shot up several other people, but since they all died or never made it back to Earth, they simply kept it quiet as a way to not cause bad publicity during the Cold War. This one is definitely more feasible than others on the list, the idea that the Russian government would cover up failures in its space program.
Yeah, I believe that.
It does make it horrifying to think about how many people could have died in the search for the man in space. The Yaltov Pass is an interesting one that I will absolutely make a video on someday, but the short version is 9 researchers went missing in Russia, in the Siberian area, and when they went to be found, they were all dead, either from having all of their bones shattered, their jaws ripped off, other horrifying scenarios that in no way seemed natural, to the point that the coroner's report on it says they were killed by a, quote, overwhelming compelling force, which could be literally anything.
I mean, that could be a
like
bear.
I said, it's a very interesting story and very creepy, and I encourage you to check it out yourself. Declassified documents is also super vague. This is probably just referring to the JFK files and other government documents that have been released in recent years, and the fact that they proved and disproved several conspiracy theories. So, yeah, go figure. Summoning is also a setup concept. Basically just the idea that people can bring in evil or good entities, either through actions or rituals. So specific supernatural beings can be conjured up by an individual. One of which is another concept on the iceberg, tulpas. Tulpas are what we would traditionally figure as an imaginary friend. Essentially the idea that someone can think imaginary friends up so much and imagine them to the point that a spirit inhabits that being. So the idea that,
I've never done that.
Imaginary friends kids have, or ideas that always set in your mind, are not merely ideas but are now possessed by a specific entity. So don't worry about that monster under the bed too much. Operation Bluebeam was an idea put forward by Sergei, whatever, Manast, which said that NASA was working with the UN and world governments to pose a new religion in which NASA would fake the second coming of Christ in order to set up Antichrist as the Godhead. And it essentially relates to the end of times, the idea that all world governments are working together to destroy the population, and he called this entire thing Operation Bluebeam. So yeah,
what? That's crazy. Oh my god.
Knowledge is also a super vague one. Basically, the just knowledge of the occult itself. So occult's defined as anything that is supernatural but not strictly spiritual. So werewolves, monsters,
whatever.
Creatures of the night,
that's pretty vague. It's not a theory.
It just occurred to me that we are not like even halfway done. Magica was weird to find anything for, mostly because I think there is a card game of the same name. But from the best I can figure, Magica is essentially the idea that magic is.
This man really got it confused with Magic the Gathering, SMH.
In 5 categories: that is the arcane, the illusionary, the aura, manipulation, and elemental. So I could be completely off, and that's all I could find.
I mean, to be fair, I can only do like 4 out of the 5 of the Magica. Sag.
Next, we have the shelled or firmament earth. This comes from the idea posed in Genesis.
Wait, hold up. Tulpas are essentially you splitting your consciousness via multi-personality disorder to give your imaginary friend life. Interesting. They're an intentional mental disorder, not a supernatural phenomenon. Pog?
That before the flood, the earth was covered with a firmament, or essentially a wrapping of water.
Yo, this, again, by the way, the flat earth theory. Dude, I don't know why the flat earth theory keeps coming up. Flat earth theory!
Chaz. Now, it's mentioned in the flood that firmament was destroyed. However, theorists believe that there's...
What? It does not say anywhere, to my recollection, that in the flood the firmament was destroyed. I'm pretty sure that's fake news. I think you just made that up, actually. I would research it, but I don't want to.
Such as. Now, it's mentioned in the flood that firmament was destroyed.
I don't think that's true. But anyway.
However, theorists believe that there's still a firmament of some kind, and that the Earth sort of exists within a shell. And most of what I found with this related back to Hollow Earth theory, so I think they're kind of tied, if not directly. The Boy in the Box is a real-world case that happened in 1957 in Philadelphia, in which a boy's body was found in a box on the side of the river, and he was never identified. This was weird because no one nearby reported a missing child, no orphanages reporting missing children, nothing. It was just a body found in a box for some reason, which implies murder by play, but no one ever knows who did it, and there's never been any connection made. Most theories relate to the idea that it was a cover-up by an orphanage or things such as, but it doesn't change the fact that it's odd that a child could just disappear and no one would notice.
Or just really bad parents.
Reality simulations is another setup. Basically, the whole Matrix idea that reality itself is either one simulation for everyone or
it's a common one.
Clown sightings are in reference to in 2016, whenever various people showed up in clown costumes with knives and weapons and began threatening people in public.
They're just fans of Batman, okay?
Do you know of anyone that dressed up as a clown? Or have you heard of anyone dressing up as a clown? And why did it happen in thousands all across the U.S. at once? No one ever came forward.
Because they're scary! The Joker just came out.
They just showed up and then went away. Weird. Divination is the idea that one can see the future or have premonitions of the future through supernatural means. So essentially through meditation or summoning, someone can figure out what will happen in the future. Space is fake is exactly what it says. Space is fake.
Yo, that's the same firmament theory. That The Earth is just in a dome and there's no space.
Either the night sky is a simulation, or
it's
it
a
is
picture on the inside of the dome
that's been put up by extraterrestrials in order to give the illusion space, even though it's not real. Pantheism is a more traditional idea that there is not necessarily a god, but more so that God is a being completely outside the understanding of people, and instead exists all around us, everywhere at once.
Everything
or we are
is God.
A part of God. It is a very spiritualist idea of the universe.
It's not a theory, though. Pantheism is just trying to explain consciousness. It's just saying that everything is part of God instead of God being a specific entity. That's pantheism. I wouldn't say it's a conspiracy theory.
Is exactly what it says, that people were made intelligently and with purpose as opposed to a random set of accidents or coincidences. And this is pretty much the basis of every religion, that people were created rather than accidentally. LA oil rigs was interesting, and I had no idea about it until reading this. Apparently in LA, regular oil rigs are not up to code or sightly for the city, so they're hidden in completely normal buildings like this. Every floor you see is fake. All of it is just an exterior cover, and inside it's just a working oil rig, and these exist all down the street in LA. Also, this isn't really a theory, it's literally what it is. There are oil rigs working inside of fake buildings in LA. Go screw it.
What? That's crazy! I didn't know that. That's nuts! Damn, son, bro, that's nutto. That's hilarious. Oh my god. Dude, that's not even a theory. Something else funny, and once I mention this, you're never going to be able to turn your attention away. What's so funny is, next time you go anywhere, okay, pay attention to how many mattress stores there are. You'll notice that unlike any busy, like, anywhere, like in New York, I've noticed this in New York so many times, and in LA as well, there could be like a block with 4 mattress stores on it. And they're massive. They're not these little rinky-dink stores. It's like 4 massive mattress stores. Like you'll have Bed Bath & Beyond, 2 on the same block. 2 massive stores on the same block. Bruh, it's a cover-up, okay? It's clearly a massive drug dealing operation or something like that. There is no need to have so many mattress stores.
Is also very fake. I think this is just simply referring to the idea of a ghostly girl watching over people when they sleep, or in the corners when they're awake, which I think is something a lot of people can relate to. I hope. Operation Fishbowl was real-world events that happened in 1962, in which the government started launching nukes into the atmosphere and detonating them, essentially to see what happened. It was called Operation Fishbowl because of the shape that the nuclear cloud would take when that high in the atmosphere. Not only did this probably have disastrous consequences on the weather and environment,
they could have called it Operation Shrooms. That would have been a way better name.
The thing Oppenheimer was afraid of, that the nuke could light the atmosphere on fire and kill us all, not 20 years later, they were directly firing them at the atmosphere to see
God damn!
Good job, team. Archdemons and archangels is another idea that comes from Christianity. Originally, archangels were the lead warriors or chieftains of the angels, so as they were cast out of heaven, they would become archdemons. So it's just the idea of these very powerful demons and angels existing. The Philosopher's Stone is an idea that was originally put forward by Charlemagne the Great of what is now Holy Roman Empire. That's it. The Philosopher's Stone was the basis of what is known as alchemy, which is essentially converting one element into a different kind of element. This stone was something he wrote about several times in his findings, that when approaching another element could simply turn it into something else. So what ancient societies would know as magic, we would know as extreme radioactive properties, or whatever have you with what theory you're following. Interesting is the Philosopher's Stone, as it's mentioned, has never been found, although there are things similar. So it is, like I said, essentially the bedrock of what is now alchemy.
Edward! Sorry, I had to do it. Sorry, I had to do it.
My red is not your red is the once kind of novel but now overknown concept that just because I see a color one way does not mean you see a color.
Oh, that's true. That's cool. I like that.
Because we both spent our entire life thinking that something is blue, we both call it blue.
That's Pog.
Without knowing, we each see different kinds of blues. It's just that concept. Vampires, well, at first maybe.
Bro, that's really cool. And there's no way to, like, disprove that, right? There is no way to disprove that. I might see red the way you see green, but we've just been calling it different colors our entire lives.
Seem odd, it does make sense in the grander scheme of things, and it's on this list. For example, take old world ideologies and think about why they believed in vampires the way they did. Things such as certain people need to be staked to the heart, or tied up, or in some cases flipped upside down in their coffin. What would the reason for that be, unless they had seen something that made them think that was necessary? And it leads into this whole idea of maybe our understanding of humans in history isn't what we think it is. Aura is another setup one. It's essentially the idea that humans exude this spiritual energy around them that changes with their mood and things such as. And this goes into gravitational pulls and sonic vibrations of the earth and things such as. Francis Levy's handprint is interesting. I didn't know anything about this until doing the research for this video.
By the way, I'm not totally against auras, by the way. Maybe it's the anime fan in me. Maybe I watched XQC watching Hunter x Hunter enough to realize that Nen is pretty pog. But I don't mean auras literally, like you could use auras to do magic stuff, but to think that there's some sort of energy to people, I'm not saying that that's completely insane to think about. But we don't understand it, so who knows?
In 1924, a man named Francis Levy was a firehouse worker who, while cleaning a window, got ordered to go away on a call. On that call, him along and 7 other crewmen died in a fire. After this whole event was over, someone tried to spray the window of the firehouse, and his handprint would not come off. This got to the point that they used bleach, acid, pressure washers, all of it. And it became a novelty around the town. People would come to see it. The glass company came to try to see if they could figure it out. But for whatever reason, this handprint was perfectly formed onto this window.
Yo, that's creepy.
So in 1944, a boy who was throwing newspapers through one and broke the window, ending the legacy. But it is odd that this handprint stayed completely unfazed by all of the removal process for 20 years. Bohemian Grove is a 2,700-acre campsite in the western United States, which has been home to several presidents such as Reagan, Nixon, etc. What's weird about Bohemian Grove is the theories that go on around it. For example, there are no pictures taken during certain commencement ceremonies, and people who have claimed to sneak in and take pictures have gotten some weird stuff from it. This all goes back to the idea of secret societies and things that happen, but essentially Bohemian Grove is a gathering place for world elites to do who knows what. Lost Civilizations is simply in reference to the fact there are entire societies that are known about in ancient texts, but that we just can't find. The Mayans, for example, were supposed to have 3 giant cities, and only 2 have been discovered. With our understanding of satellites, it's really weird that these entire civilizations just simply can't be found. The Vikings are another one. Several of the sites that they talk about being set up at or where they live have just never been discovered.
True.
This goes into conspiracies of cover-ups or of information being hidden and things such as, but it's an interesting concept that these entire worlds.
Yeah, what the hell, man?
Paranormal beings is also super vague, just supernatural entities that defy normal realm of logic. Professional sports scripted is exactly what it says. The idea that companies and elites make up what happens in the games, even if the players aren't necessarily aware of it.
Did you see what happened in the NFL literally yesterday? Literally yesterday? I don't know, dog. Did you see Logan lose to freaking KSI? And did you see them have, like, a rematch to that? I don't know. They had a draw, really? It was a draw? To get some more money, maybe draw some dollars. I don't know. Very sussy.
In order to drive revenue in the right direction, or ticket sales, or blah blah blah, money. Snuff cinema in itself is not a theory; it's a real thing. It's simply the idea that people will actually take videos of people being murdered or raped or things such as, and sell them on the dark web or in shady circles. Where most of the theory comes in is who makes these, maybe higher up elitist, or at least the buyers might be. So while this is a real world thing, it gets a lot more creepy when you think about who may be consuming it. On humans, also super vague, but as mentioned before with things such as MK Ultra and experiments that we know.
Experiments on humans isn't a theory, okay? Experiments on humans have been done in the past, okay? The Nazis have experimented on humans.
Sixth extinction is the idea that there have been 5 primary extinctions in history, such as the meteor and the ice age and things like that. We are currently on the 6th extinction, which would be man, and would be a man-made issue that we created ourselves. Pseudosciences relates to old world theories, or mostly old world theories, of things such as the 4 constants in the body being science or spiritualism and things such as. And essentially, where it relates to conspiracy theories, is saying that there's...
I have a great joke to make to insult a lot of people, but I'll wait for him to finish his little preamble.
More credit to it than has been disproved by science, and the discredit of it is simply repression.
Yo, you know what my favorite pseudoscience is? Psychology. Get absolutely destroyed, psychologists. Oh, psychologists. Sorry about that. Did I call it a pseudoscience? Yes, I did. If I had arms right now, I would drop a mic. Bro, my favorite thing to tell psychologists is, oh my god, psychology is a brilliant pseudoscience. They just lose their shit. It's the funniest thing.
A large hadron collider is a real thing that exists in, I believe, Germany. But the entire point of it is it works as essentially a giant gun to shoot particles at each other at speeds of light. What's interesting is the last time this was done, it created a new particle called the Higgs boson. What it essentially did was prevent the machine from moving used further. And I should also mention, before this firing happened, there was a shock wave that ripped through the machine, damaging it and making them take more time to repair it. A physicist theorized that since time works as a fourth dimension, that shooting 2 particles together at such speeds,
the God particle,
would theoretically create a black hole. But since the way time and waves work, and there's people who can explain this much better than I can, shock waves ripple backwards through time in order to prevent us from causing an event that would theoretically destroy the future version. This all has to do with the idea of time.
Yo, that's so cool!
Linearly, although it can be manipulated.
I love this stuff.
It's really cool stuff. Look into it yourself if you like, but that's the idea. Uma is a body of space debris that passed near our sun some years ago and was viewed from the research station of the same name in Hawaii. What was interesting is that analyzing the particles of this, it seemed to be rather homey to us. It contained carbon and things that looked like Earth and stuff such as, and was probably launched after a star exploded some however many galaxies away. What's interesting is the idea that if that Earth was destroyed, and also keep in mind, this thing would have been a whole lot bigger than our Earth. If that super Earth was destroyed by its sun exploding, what means the same could have happened to us?
Oh, if our sun explodes, we're dead. Yep, no theories there. If our sun explodes, we all toast. There will be no remnants of our corpses.
The World War II Black Book was a book that was found in Berlin in 1945 that had the name of several British citizens, in fact thousands of them, with their names, addresses, and places.
This man literally said several British citizens. In fact, thousands of them.
Of work that were essentially on a hit list, so to speak, if Germany was to win the war. What's weird about this is why the Black Book would still exist at such a point as 1945, when Germany was pushed all the way into Berlin, and the details are that it was found in a sofa somewhere in Berlin, and it couldn't have been the Reichstag, because that place was absolutely burned to the ground. So there are several theories about why this book was created, if this book is real, etc., etc. Fish rain is a phenomenon that occurs for seemingly no reason.
Yeah, this is crazy.
Various times throughout history, fish have begun to fall from the sky. Similar things have happened with rats, snakes, etc. The leading theory is that somewhere hundreds of miles away, a tornado happened.
Yeah.
You know, pull these things out of the water or off of land and threw them that far. But even then, that doesn't necessarily make sense looking at some of the specific instances it's happened. So
interesting.
It's just weird.
I didn't realize that was a theory. I thought it was accepted that like it was a tornado or something or a hurricane that just blew fish into my city.
Out for yourself. Flint body doubles is a...
Yo, Stone Ocean, that's true. My man, he rained frogs on his enemies. What a Chad.
Exactly what it says.
Bro, I love how every conspiracy theory video is just another excuse to make JoJo references.
That mostly relates to time travel theory and things such as
that's not a theory.
One change will cause a series of changes to happen afterwards that can affect the course of history. For example, if I was to simply do this video a minute longer and not leave the house, well, that could cause me to end up in a car accident. That may kill me or injure me or something rather, which would change the course of history all because of one seemingly meaningless task. This is where you hear the whole, don't go back into the past and flip over a stone, you could change world history. This is just that laid out. Ninja?
Yeah, that's not a theory though, right? It's not a theory. That's just, if you could go back in time, don't mess shit up. Okay,
These are a Japanese legend of these giant...
Wait, did he just call them ninjas? Hold up.
You could change world history. This is just that.
Ninjas
are a Japanese legend of these giant human-like sort of porpoise-looking creatures that roam in the Pacific Ocean and sing sailors into their death. These are very...
That's just like sirens, right? From Greek. But like, god damn, that's a creepy motherfucker. Chat? Sheesh. What they say they look like on Tinder. What they actually look like.
Very different from mermaids, not only in their appearance, but the fact they are much, much larger. I believe up to 50 feet in some of the legends descriptions. But what's also interesting is that there are several very similar things to ninjas mentioned in Viking culture and in Indian culture and things such as.
Ooh, I love that. I love that. When it's like cross-referenced in different cultures that had no like impact on each other. That's just scary. That's like too much to be a coincidence.
You're considering these tribes have never had contact with each other, so... The Patterson-Gimlin massacre is in reference to the Patterson-Gimlin tapes. For those that don't know, it is a very famous video or supposed sighting of Bigfoot. If you watch the entire tape, at the beginning there seems to be something on the ground that appears as a pool of blood, and the men in the video are washing blood off of their hands. The idea of this being that these people were up there hunting for Bigfoot and simply started taking the video as the last one was leaving or walking around the campground. This leads into the idea among Bigfoot hunters that the reason we don't see them is that they were hunted out by people, and what we're seemingly watching here is the last group near the public eye being massacred. When I mentioned at the beginning, there are things that can get me kicked off of YouTube immediately. This is what I was referring to.
Ooh.
So feel free to look it up in your own time. I'm going to be very light with it. The Houdin Plan was an idea imagined by anthropologist Edward Houdin, which essentially said after World War II they needed to do something about the Germans, and the best thing to do was something called the Great Replacement Theory, and I'm going to stop talking there and you can figure it out for yourself.
Oh my god, I want to know what that is! Alright, I'm not going to do it. I'm not getting banned.
The oil pit squid was discovered in Indiana.
God damn! That's ugly. Holy crap, dog! When she takes off her panties and she didn't shave down there. Okay. This is what happens if you don't use code NUX on Manscaped, am I right? Oh my god. Alright, okay, hold up. Eye, nose, mouth. Tell me it doesn't look a little bit like Nags. Okay, anyway, I'm just gonna keep going.
In which, while cultivating an oil source, there was an 8 to 12-inch squid that popped out, and supposedly this has happened more than once by oil crews in the area. This makes absolutely no sense because the squid shouldn't be able to survive in oil, and why is it in the middle of landlocked Indiana? A lot of the information I found on this related back to the Hollow Earth idea. Regardless of what your theory is on it, it's very weird that this thing exists at all. And then lastly, I'm going to get into the two most interesting theories that I found on this tier, and I believe that they're interconnected to each other. The first is the people of the mount theory. The background of it essentially works like this. In the 1820s, there was an animal researcher who was trying to figure out why lemurs existed in some parts of the world and not others, and seemingly skip giant areas.
Okay.
This is one of the first groundworks that led to the idea of Pangea, and that all of the continents were originally pushed together. However...
Wait, that's a theory? I thought that was also, like, kind of scientifically proven.
And going off of Pangea, that would mean there was a giant portion of land that just doesn't exist anymore.
Yeah.
With the idea being whenever the plate shifted, it simply sank below water.
Okay, he's explaining it wrong. Pangea, the theory of Pangea is that all of the continents were one supercontinent. And due to like earthquakes or meteors or whatever, it broke apart into many separate continents. not that Pangea is a new continent that kind of sank or whatever. Pangea is, like, in prehistoric times, there was just one supercontinent on the planet before it broke up due to tectonic shifts.
The name of this unidentified continent was called Lemuria. Get it, Lemuria?
The Mario!
Lemuria. Near the coast of where this supposed Lemuria is supposed to be.
Oh, Lemuria, okay. Lemuria. I thought he said the Mario.
At night, you can see people leaving in robes. These people are tall, like much taller than.
Oh my god, this is like the cult next to Oopaville's house.
Shasta is a completely hollow ground, and the survivors of this Lemuria sought it for shelter and have lived under there, untouched by society ever since. In 1904, a researcher went to Mount Shasta and said he found miles and miles of underground caves full of gold and silver and crystals and things such as, but whenever he put together a team to go research it, he disappeared, which is weird.
Okay, that's sus.
Again, relates back to Hollow Earth theory, which is why I think that was mentioned.
This is more sus than a character from Among Us.
Stage, the idea that there is this untouched race of people existing in underground caves in the modern times. This also relates to something else on this here, which is crystal skulls. There are 13 perfectly made crystal skulls that have been found variously around the world.
Okay, that's creepy.
What's odd about them is while they're all made...
Wait, around the world? They weren't even in the same place?
13 perfectly made crystal skulls that have been found variously around the world.
That's already creepy!
But what's odd about them is while they're all made exactly the same, no one can place where they came from. They were each recovered from different dig sites and seem to have the same properties as one another, yet no one really knows where they came from. And every accusation where they came from, Colombia or Spain or whatever, has been proved false.
Is the Dragon Balls?
Skulls, though, they supposedly contain energy. Anyone who touches the skull or comes into contact with it shares their memories with it, and then that is passed on.
Okay, I'm not, alright, okay. I'm not with that, though. Yeah, okay.
What's interesting about this is part of what the researcher mentioned who got lost in the Mount Shasta cave in 1904 is that they communicated using crystals. When I was reading this for this tier, keep in mind these are two different theories, I thought it was wild that these crystals that Lemurians have to supposedly communicate with each other seem to be the same things that these skulls were that's supposedly communicate with each other. And no one knew where the skulls came from, and it related back to Lemuria. Again, to clarify, I don't believe in this. I think it's neat. So to encompass this whole theory together, especially with other stuff seen in the tier, that would mean...
I love how we needed to clarify that mind control rocks and memory sharing devices from the past is something he doesn't believe in. Thank you for that, too.
That the Lemurians did go underground, but found either the Agartha beneath Earth, or at least hidden passageways that work all the way under Earth, and there's an entire civilization of humanity existing apart from ourselves underground, and periodically their belongings, such as these crystal skulls, are found in other parts of the world. So there's my huge headcanon for secret underground mole people.
That's
and that will do it for tier 2. This was a long one. They only get longer. Like I said...
God damn, dude, I'm loving this. Like, subscribe, and follow me on Twitch. Stay weird, fam!